The first sign that something had gone horribly wrong with Roblox humanity appeared when I joined a game called Sus, Would You Rather. I wasn't expecting philosophy. I wasn't expecting psychological warfare. I wasn't expecting to question every decision I'd made up until that point. I thought I was clicking on another goofy Roblox game. You know the type. Bright colours, loud music, some guy with rainbow wings running at Mach 10. Instead, what I got was a digital fever dream disguised as a party game. The concept sounds innocent enough. Two options appear, and players choose which one they'd rather experience. Easy, simple. We've all played something similar, but somewhere along the line, the developers looked at normal questions and said, "Nah, that's too boring. Let's make people uncomfortable." And that's how I found myself standing next to 20 other Roblox avatars while being asked questions that felt like they had been written by aliens who had only vaguely heard about human interactions. Every round was like opening a mystery box filled with second-hand embarrassment. One moment, the game would ask if you'd rather have unlimited Robux or unlimited pizza. Fine. Normal. Then out of nowhere, the next question would hit you like a truck carrying bad decisions. Suddenly, everyone in the server is frozen, staring at the screen, trying to determine which answer will make them look less suspicious. The silence in those moments was deafening. You could almost hear the gears turning inside people's blocky heads. You know things have gone off the rails when even the bacon hairs stop jumping around and begin contemplating existence. But here's the thing. The game wasn't merely weird. It was fascinating. Because no matter how bizarre the questions became, people always revealed more about themselves than they probably intended. That's the beauty of these games. They turn ordinary players into accidental psychologists. You start noticing patterns. Certain people consistently choose the weirdest option possible. Others stand around pretending they're carefully considering the question when you know they made up their mind within half a second. Then there are the trolls, the agents of chaos. These creatures don't care about logic. They don't care about dignity. Their mission is simple. Pick whatever answer creates the most confusion and then stare directly into your soul afterward. And somehow, every server had at least 3 of them. I remember one round where almost the entire lobby chose the same side, except for one guy, one lone warrior, standing completely by himself. Everyone immediately began questioning him in chat. There were accusations, there was laughter, there was genuine concern, and this guy simply typed, "I know what I chose." That's it. No explanation, no defense, just pure confidence. He dropped that line like some ancient philosopher and spent the rest of the match walking around with the swagger of someone who had ascended beyond mortal understanding. It was terrifying. Another thing I quickly realized was that Roblox players become detectives the second someone picks an unusual answer. People don't let things go. They want explanations. They need answers. If somebody chooses something strange, half the server turns into investigators. Suddenly the chat looks like an interrogation room. Bro, why? Explain yourself. No, that's crazy. And sometimes the person refuses to elaborate, which somehow makes things 10 times funnier. There was this one player dressed like a giant duck who consistently made choices nobody understood. Every round, without fail, he would wander over to the side everyone considered insane. People begged for answers. They demanded explanations. And after 15 rounds of complete silence, he finally spoke. He typed 3 words. "Duck instincts, bro." Then he left the game. That's not a joke. He vanished. Like some mythical creature delivering wisdom before disappearing into the night. I have no idea who he was, but I respect him. Another aspect I wasn't prepared for was how quickly friend groups exposed each other. Friends entered the game together thinking they knew one another. Big mistake. Within 10 minutes, secrets started surfacing. You could see trust evaporating in real time. One player would pick an answer and immediately hear, "Bro, we've known each other for 3 years." What do you mean? Friendships were hanging by threads. Entire alliances crumbled. People started questioning everything. It felt less like a party game and more like couples therapy conducted by cartoon avatars. And then there were the spectators. The players who didn't even care about answering. Their entertainment came from watching everyone else suffer. They stood in the middle, observing the chaos like nature documentary hosts. Interesting. The noob has isolated itself from the herd. Fascinating behavior. These people thrived on drama. They lived for awkward moments. They were basically digital vultures circling above confusion. The funniest part about Sus, Would You Rather, wasn't even the questions themselves. It was the reactions. Humans are naturally expressive creatures. Roblox players somehow managed to become even more expressive, despite having faces made from 6 pixels. Someone would choose an answer and immediately start spinning in circles. Another player would jump repeatedly like they were trying to escape reality itself. Others ran into walls. Some sat down in shame. The physical comedy was unmatched. It looked like everyone was experiencing a system malfunction. And let's talk about the people who took the game way too seriously. Every server had one. The self-appointed professor of Would You Rather. This person analyzed every question like they were solving world hunger. They had charts in their head, spreadsheets in their soul. If you picked an answer they disagreed with, they'd spend 5 minutes writing an essay in chat explaining why your choice was objectively incorrect. Imagine trying to establish intellectual superiority in a Roblox game where a giant hot dog costume is arguing with a monkey wearing sunglasses. That's dedication. Yet despite all the nonsense, The game had an undeniable charm. It was unpredictable. Every server felt different. Some lobbies became comedy clubs. Others transformed into courtrooms. Occasionally, you'd encounter complete madness where nobody knew what was happening anymore. I joined one server where players abandoned the questions entirely and started debating whether cereal counted as soup. The original objective had been forgotten. Civilization had collapsed. Society had become meaningless. But everyone seemed happy. That's Roblox in a nutshell. Chaos held together with duct tape and good vibes. Another thing I noticed was how role players approached the game. These people stayed in character no matter what. If they were pretending to be a vampire, they answered as a vampire. If they were role-playing as a billionaire cat, every decision came from the perspective of a billionaire cat. Nothing broke their immersion. You could drop them into the weirdest scenario imaginable and they'd remain committed. Honestly, I admired the dedication. Meanwhile, I was struggling to answer basic questions without overthinking. These players had entire fictional backstories guiding their decisions. They were operating on levels beyond my comprehension. But perhaps the greatest creatures to ever inhabit Sus, would you rather, were the accidental comedians. People who weren't trying to be funny. They simply existed in a state of natural chaos. One guy kept missing the answer zones because he was lagging. Every round he'd accidentally choose something completely different from what he intended. The chat roasted him endlessly, but he never got angry. Instead he'd type, "My Wi-Fi has chosen my fate." That sentence alone deserves to be engraved somewhere. Another player repeatedly walked into the wrong side because they were eating chips and not paying attention. They apologized every single round. Nobody believed them after the 5th time. Eventually, people assumed the chips were controlling them, which honestly sounded plausible. Then there were the speedrunners, people who made their choice instantly without hesitation. They didn't think, they didn't analyze, they trusted pure instinct. The question appeared and boom, they were already standing on one side. It was almost frightening. Like watching someone with access to forbidden knowledge. What secrets did they possess? How were they processing information so quickly? I needed answers, but I feared the truth. Maybe they had transcended overthinking. Maybe they were simply built differently. Or maybe they clicked randomly and hoped for the best. Which, in fairness, is how most people navigate life anyway. One evening, I encountered the strangest server imaginable. Every player had somehow agreed to answer incorrectly on purpose. Logic no longer existed. If one option was obviously better, everyone picked the opposite. The atmosphere felt cursed. Nobody explained why they were doing it. They simply embraced insanity. And strangely enough, it worked. The game became infinitely funnier because nobody knew what to expect. Expectations died. Confusion reigned supreme. Looking back, Sahez Would You Rather wasn't really about the questions. It wasn't even about winning. There was no grand objective, no ultimate reward. The real entertainment came from observing people, watching complete strangers reveal fragments of their personalities through absurd choices, seeing chaos unfold naturally, witnessing friendships tested by nonsense, encountering ducks who speak in riddles, meeting philosophers trapped inside bacon hair avatars. Experiencing moments so strange they felt scripted despite being entirely spontaneous. That's the magic of Roblox. It's not polished. It doesn't need to be. Sometimes the funniest experiences emerge from random interactions between strangers who share one brain cell collectively. And somehow, against all odds, those moments stick with you. Years later, you won't remember the score. You won't remember who won. But you'll remember the duck. You'll remember the guy whose Wi-Fi controlled his destiny. You'll remember the player who typed, "I know what I chose," and refused to elaborate. Those memories become legends. Tiny stories floating around inside your head like old campfire tales. And honestly, I think that's beautiful. Because games don't always need epic narratives or groundbreaking mechanics. Sometimes all you need is 20 random people, questionable decisions, and enough confusion to power a small city. That's where the magic lives. Somewhere between logic and complete nonsense. Somewhere inside a Roblox server where nobody understands what's happening, yet nobody wants to leave. And if there's one lesson I took away from Sus Would You Rather, it's this. Never underestimate the entertainment value of watching blocky strangers expose themselves with the confidence of seasoned philosophers. Because deep down, every Roblox player has a little chaos hidden inside them. Some people hide it well. Others dress as a giant duck and let instinct take the wheel.